I met Gurudev first time in Mahaprabhu's 500th anniversary in 1986 in Mathura. I was with the devotees, and they said to me, let's go and meet a sadhu. So I said, okay. We went to Mathura, and there they took me to see Gurudev, and they said, he is a good book distributor. He distributes so many books. And Gurudev, he looked at me in my eyes very deeply, and he said, but you have to put these books in your heart. So when Gurudev said that to me, it was the first time actually something had struck so deeply within my heart, that this was like a clear instruction. Whatever you're doing is fine, as in terms of external activities, but you need to put that in your heart. So that, over the years, stayed with me. And in the meantime, I met Srila Gurudeva Maharaj and traveled with Srila Gurudeva Maharaj in different countries. And there was also a lot of discussion with Srila Gurudeva Maharaj about Srila Narayana Maharaj at that time as well. It was around 1992, 93. And when Srila Gurudeva Maharaj left, I stayed up until the end, and then I met again Srila Narayana Maharaj. Actually, he was coming out of Tota Gopinath Mandir in Puri, and I was going into the Mandir. And it reminded me that actually, yes, there's this great Vaishnav that you can take shelter of. So we spoke a little briefly, but then again, I met Gurudev when in 1996 he was leaving. And I think one of the stops, he was in Malaysia, and I was in Malaysia at that time. And so the devotees, Pran Kishore Prabhu, he caught me and he said, come and meet Gurudev. So he put me in front of Gurudev. Gurudev looked at me deeply in the eyes, and he says, I know you, I've met you before. This was quite, many, many years later. And I was like, oh, he's got it wrong, he must be thinking of somebody else. But no, he said, no, I met you, you have come to our mutt, I know you. So it was funny, because when I met Srila Gurudeva Maharaj for one of the first, well, actually the very first time, he said the same thing to me. I met you before. So I was thinking, oh, this is the same thing that both these same Vaishnavas had said to me. Whether accidentally or intentionally, I don't know. But they said exactly the same thing. So then Gurudev said to me, so you must come traveling with me. And at that time, we were in Malaysia, and so he says, come travel with me everywhere. Do you have any problems? Because I hesitated. He says, any money problems? To come with me. So I didn't go with Gurudev, stayed in Malaysia, but then again, met him at different times. And for me, what struck me so much about Gurudev all the time I met him is always how encouraging he was to me. I'll give you a few examples. When I was there was a big festival going on in Navadvip, and in Navadvip there were so many people, and as Gurudev did, he was walking along, and then suddenly he stopped and he turned, and I was like in the back there somewhere, and he went through the crowd and he came up to me and he said, are you coming to Italy? And I had planned not to come to Italy, and so at different times in my life with Gurudev, I felt that he particularly came and that he came and told me at different times, what are you doing? Where are you going? Are you coming to this festival? So another time was when we were in also Navadvip Parikram, and there was a big kirtan going on. And at the end of the kirtan, Gurudev was walking past everybody. He came up to me and he said, so, how is Mahaprabhu's Gaurapanim? So every time there was this encouragement, and I felt in my heart deeply, Gurudev was saying, do more. Do more. Come on, Ananta. Do more. Do more. Do more. So that was always in the back of my head. And so with Gurudev, I always was encouraged in that way. And because I ran some seminars on communication, I tried to explain to Gurudev what I'm trying to do. So we were in Alachua, and I explained to Gurudev, oh, we're running these seminars, help the devotees to communicate. And I said, Gurudev, is it okay to do this? He said, it's okay if everybody is feeling encouraged more to serve Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. So in that should be the goal of all of these things that you do.
And then my mom, she begged for a few years for Gurudev to come to our hometown, Boise, Idaho. And then in, I think it was 2000 or 2001, he did. He came, and she was really busy organizing, cooking prasad, hosting devotees, and she was busy with all that organization. And Gurudev was hosted by a wealthy Indian family, and so he had lots of darshan that tour. And devotees were saying that was the best tour because he gave so much darshan. And he asked Vrinda Didi where my mom was. And then Vrinda Didi told my mom, oh, Gurudev wants you to come. So then she came. She was driving to Manisha's house. And beautiful home, big Tulsi Devi plants, really sweet devotee family. And on her way there, this old Indian Mataji, I think her name was Mrs. Sarahi, her car broke down, and my mom saw her and she picked her up to go see Gurudev too. And it's so interesting, this woman, going to the temple for decades. I think this was one of the reasons also Gurudev came to Boise, to give her his darshan, because after she entered a coma and then left her body. But anyways, so they drove to see Srila Gurudeva, and my mom took darshan, they discussed things, and then Gurudev said, tomorrow I'm coming to your house. And so then Srila Gurudeva came to our house with Sri Padmadeva Maharaj, and I had this little dog. I begged my mom for a dog for years and years, and she finally gave me one. But she didn't want Gurudev to know we had a dog. So she had the dog at her friend's house, and the first thing when Gurudev enters our home, he looks at my mom's altar, and she had Radha Govinda and this little cow on the altar, and Gurudev looks down at the cow, and then he looks up and he says, oh, you worship dog daily? And my mom's just like this, and Sri Padmadeva Maharaj looked at the altar, and he's like, cow, Gurudev, cow, and then Srila Gurudev sat down, and I remember doing puja and offering incense, and I was so close to him, and I was just like, wow, that's Gurudev, wow, that's Gurudev, and then we got to bathe his lotus feet, and we still have that water. And then Gurudev gave class, and there was probably 20 devotees in our living room, and And Gurudev was giving class about how you must first be qualified, you know, if you want to be a mother, like not like hogs and dogs. And he kept going on. And Radhakanti Didi was there, and she asked, like, she was talking to my mom after, she's like, I wonder why Gurudev is talking about this. Someone must really have a desire to have children. And I was like, oh, that's me. Like, I was just 13 or 14, but I don't know why. I always felt like, oh, I want like a nice devotee family of my own one day. And I felt that too, like Gurudev knew my mind and heart. Like I would talk to him in my head. This is kind of fast forwarding, New Braj Harikatha Festival, maybe 2005. And it was all the new disciples. They were announcing their names. And in my head, right before, I was thinking, when I have a child, I want to name him Makan Chor. And I was like, is that too silly of a name, Gurudev? And then right then, Gurudev said, oh, Makan Chor Das Ki Jai. So I was like, oh, I guess not.
Yeah, I remember when Gurudev first came to Badger, different people had different experiences when they first met Gurudev. Some people, like, immediately when they saw him, they knew that he was like their guru, and some people are a bit more skeptical, but that doesn't actually really mean anything, what your first impression is of Gurudev, because you see so many people who are like more doubtful, and now they're like the most staunch followers of Gurudev, you know. But yeah, I just remember my experience in '97 when Gurudev came. We were doing kirtan, and yeah, it's big kirtan, and we're all dancing and everything, and then every car that came by, we would like just go crazy, but then it wouldn't be Gurudev, you know, and we kept on doing that over and over, and then finally Gurudev came. And I just remember the second he stepped out of the car, I just burst into tears. And I was either 7 or 8 years old. 8 years old probably. And I wasn't into anything devotional, like I was just into playing games and stuff, but his presence was just so powerful, you know, like so, you know. Anyways, yeah, and yeah, I think at that time also, like maybe a couple days later or something, I asked Gurudev, Srila Narayana Raj Prabhu, can I have Harinam? And then I can't remember what Gurudev said. Maybe he said you have to ask your parents, or maybe he said yes. I can't remember. But at that time, my parents went with Gurudev. Like we were about to see Gurudev in '96 when he came to LA. And there was a sannyasi staying with us. I forgot, some ISKCON sannyasi, I can't remember who it was. But he's like, oh, no, don't go to see him. You don't know. Yeah, he's like, you know, he's taking everybody away from Srila Prabhupada and reinitiating people. And like he said, and we were like, oh, thank you so much. You saved us, you know, we would have. And so my parents, you know, they were very skeptical towards Gurudev when he came. But they were like, okay, let's just, you know, see who this is, you know. And immediately when they saw him speak Harikatha, they felt Srila Prabhupada again for the first time after, you know, 1977, you know. And we immediately put a big picture of Gurudev on our altar, and I took Harinam with Gaur-Sundar, I think Gaur-Sundar and Nityananda. And but yeah, then we were fully Gurudevs, and that year we went for Kartik. But yeah, it's just showing like how powerful Gurudev's, you know, his like the rays coming out of him. And
so when I first heard about Shri Gurudev from Shri Gurudev's disciples, it was very wonderful, very beautiful, and I went to some other devotees there I knew before that I first met, and I told them, oh, I heard about Gurudev, and I had a little book, and I showed them the name, this pink book, Gurudev's name written there, and their jaw kind of dropped a bit, like not very interested, and I became a bit surprised, and I asked, oh, what's wrong? I met these devotees there, and I went to a program, and I was really excited about it. And then they were telling me, oh, but this Maharaj is not good. He's not good. Actually, you know, our Srila Prabhupada, and I heard already about Srila Prabhupada because I read a few books of him. When Srila Prabhupada, he asked, when he went to travel to the West, when he asked this Maharaj, they didn't call him Gurudev, they called him this Maharaj. When they asked this Maharaj to come and help him, then he didn't come. He didn't go and he didn't want to help him. Although he was instructed by Prabhupada and he was asked to come, he didn't come. Anyway, so that was clear they didn't like Gurudev. Anyway, I just left. It wasn't, for some reason it wasn't a big deal for me. I heard this, but I thought, didn't say nothing about him for me. And then I just thought, well, yeah, maybe they don't like him. I didn't go there anymore. And then, anyway, then later I met Gurudev's devotees, and I met Gurudev. And then later I went to Kartik, and then I met Gurudev there. And then there was Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day in Kartik. Disappearance. Then there was Srila Prabhupada's disappearance festival. And then I was there, and then Srila Gurudev was glorifying Srila Prabhupada very wonderfully, and he was speaking about his relationship that he had with Srila Prabhupada, and also he invited many disciples of Srila Prabhupada to speak, and he was saying how his relationship with Srila Prabhupada is eternal and very intimate and very beautiful, and he called him Swamiji, which took me a while to figure out that was Srila Prabhupada actually. That was my first time I went to Kartik, and then he was saying how in many ways he was serving. Gurudev was telling himself, he was telling how he was sending the first kartas or specific type of sweet to Gurudev, how he used to send many to Srila Prabhupada, how he used to send many things to Srila Prabhupada, how they used to write many letters to each other. And then later there was a table, then somebody showed me, it was this book full of letters that Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada wrote to each other. And then I was remembering this, because only less than 1 year ago these other devotees, they told me about how bad Gurudev was, not following Srila Prabhupada's instruction. And I just thought, wow, it's very beautiful, because one thing was there, they were basically criticizing Gurudev, right? Or not really, they were kind of like telling me not to go to where he is. Basically criticizing Gurudev, kind of like, not really understanding anything about his relationship with Srila Prabhupada, but then coming to Gurudev and directly hearing from another Mahabhagavat how their relationship was in actual fact very close, and how really Gurudev used to serve Srila Prabhupada a lot. Then it's just beautiful and interesting to see how one criticism is actually in reality then hearing the real understanding from Gurudev, then how all this turned into actually a glory of Gurudev, and how just seeing how really he used to serve. And not only this, how he used to say, I went to the West because I want to go everywhere, and I want to take the dust of Srila Prabhupada on my head. Any place he went, I want to go there and take this dust. And he told me to go and preach. He was saying many things, I might not remember the right words, but he's saying how Gurudev, how Prabhupada told him to go and preach, and that's why he's going. He's coming out to help everyone. And this way is really, before he was serving him, and now serving him so much. And another thing he was saying, I forgot another thing he was saying, because that time he had so much responsibility from his from Param Gurudev, from his Gurudev, that told him to take responsibility in Mathura for the temple. So that time when Prabhupada asked him, he wasn't able to go and just leave his service that his Diksha Gurudev, Param Gurudev, had given him. So he's there serving his Gurudev, and at the same time serving also Srila Prabhupada in so many ways, as much as he could.